Welcome back to another episode of How Did They Grow? I created this podcast because I wanted you to learn how other coaches, freelancers, service providers, and course sellers are growing their business, landing 10 to 20 new clients every single month, paying them 50, 100, 200K months. See, if they've done it, you can too. And that's just the reality. And I want you to listen to these podcasts to understand what strategies are they using, what techniques are they exploring, because it's in these gems that you can apply it to your business and actually scale things up. When you're ready and you feel like you actually want to learn practical, proven methodologies, or even you want to hire a team that can build you a profitable personal brand, book in a chat with our team because we can guarantee you go viral and guarantee you get clients for your business.
So before we hop into it, I just like break it down. What do you do really?
So I own a law firm that I manage at most, but mostly runs without me. So then I coach other lawyers on how to get themselves out of the day-to-day into more of a CEO type role and how to have a life.
That makes sense. Is it like that with a lot of lawyers? Like they don't have a life outside of law?
Yes.
So really a trailblazer, because I've never heard of this kind of coaching, but I think it's a real, there's a lot to tap in.
Yeah, I mean, I started out as a prosecutor, and then I did criminal defense for the first 3 or 4 years. In those 7 years, I knew of 2 people that retired because their wives got bought out at giant company merger stuff, and I know about 6 people that committed suicide. So really trying to lower depression levels, prevent that stuff. I mean, I think it's ultimately because they don't have a successful business because nobody teaches you that. So I'm really trying to push this. How do you get a business that honors your clients and whatnot while still having space for you to be alive and thrive and enjoy it?
Wow, man, that's a really great cause. It's one thing to have the money. It's another thing to do it for a cause.
Yeah, and part of it is just helping other people find their why. Why did you start a business? Why are you in law? Why do you handle these types of cases? What are you looking for in life? I hate the concept of my tombstone saying, "Here lies a really good lawyer." I feel like there's so many more things to.
Yeah, you said you dabbled in criminal law. I think I'm not a lawyer by any means, but I think criminal law is, if I was going to be a lawyer, criminal law is going to be it.
It's definitely the most fun, but it's also the one that grinds you down the fastest.
Okay, man. So what I will say right now is this is a no pressure zone. It's just a calm podcast. There's no pressure. Just gonna run you. Let me run you how the podcast even came to be, right? Because we are simple. We're Simplex, right? So what we do, we're a 7-figure company. What we do essentially is we make coaches go viral on social media, right? We have 30 team members. We train experts. Our founder, he's actually a former monk, so he's really big on giving back to the society.
Is it Jay Shetty?
It's not Jay Shetty, but
no.
we're in really good contacts with guys like Jay Shetty, Marissa Peer in the industry. So we're really, yeah. You like Jay Shetty?
Dude, it's great because it's accessible in a way that is valuable. I hate the concept of being a life coach because it's not just right on a fucking vision board. But if you have that vision board, we can then make decisions to get you to the things on the board. And his whole thing of just taking the monk stuff to the Wall Street of Britain. It's such a cool way to be accessible as a well-rounded human being.
Yeah, so exactly. It's what I was saying. Jay Shetty is he is sort of like our founder, and as I said, he's really big on giving back to the community. And how this came about, right, is essentially we grow businesses. We make creators go viral. So our founder, he thought, how can we help people who can't afford our services? Then he said, let's start a podcast. We started a podcast. We started interviewing our clients. It was going good. Then he said, how about we interview people that are not our clients? How about we interview, prospects or something like that. We did that. It was good. Then we went. How about we interview people in the industry in general? How about we interview people in the industry to come share knowledge? Because we're building a community. We're building a community of people who want to grow in this space. So that's basically how the concept of the podcast came about. So you're on here, and that's amazing.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I used to have very similar podcast for the legal industry when I had a legal marketing company.
Wow. Legal marketing. Can you I'm not really into legal terms. What does that really mean?
Yeah, so we did marketing for law firms.
Okay, to get more clients?
Correct. Yeah. So we did a podcast for the same reason that you did a podcast, or you have this podcast, and then I got bought out and they stopped the podcast, and then with that went like all the clients that came from it. So I have a really easy way saying how helpful this podcast is because I have seen it on both sides. So I'm happy to be here.
And it's a sort of, how do I say, it's sort of reciprocative, because not only does it help us get more clients, but we're also giving back to the community in a way,
Yeah, well, and the other thing that I found in ours that I'm sure happens in yours too, people that listen become ideal clients because they are getting enough of the foundational stuff down that you can come in with the one-on-one expertise and really provide the value.
Exactly. So I think we're good enough to get right into it. Lawyer with a Life. I think that's a pretty cool name. That's just me being honest. So it's just going to be a couple questions. We're going to ask you about, your business, how you got here, what are you doing with your clients, how are you helping your clients, how are you changing their lives, how are you looking to grow in 2025 in terms of, social media, and basically that. If there's anything like you wouldn't want to talk about, I don't think there's anything, but just let me know so we can get that out of the way beforehand.
I'm an open book, man.
All right, man. So as I said, no pressure. We're just going to get right into it, go through your journey, and we're going to start the podcast in a bit. We good?
All right. I'm good. I'm ready.
All right. Just give me a second to sort things out. And we're going to start recording because the intro and outro are already like pre-recorded. So we're just going to hop right into it. All right. Let's go. Welcome to the podcast, guys. It is me, Mike, and I'm here with Jordan Ostroff. I got that right? Did I pronounce that right?
You nailed it, Mike. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he's the lawyer with a life. So tell us about yourself, Jordan.
Ooh, how far back you want to go? White room, doctor, slapping me in the butt, like all the way?
Hey, I mean, we're here, man. We're here for all that. Just give us what you know, because you know yourself best. Give us what you know that's best. Give us your sauce.
Sure, man. So I knew I wanted to be a lawyer my entire life, not knowing what that was. And even now into being a lawyer for 13 years, sometimes I still feel like I don't know it. But I figured a lot of it out during that time frame. And then ultimately, as I got more to where I wanted to be with my own firm, I started working with other law firm owners to get them there. So I originally had a marketing company for law firms. Now I do one-on-one coaching with the CEO lawyers, trying to get them into that role out of the day-to-day and ultimately have a great life while still running this business that does amazing work for clients in their time of need.
Yeah, man. And you spoke about how it's impacting lives. It's not just about the business, because money matters at the end of the day. You got to pay the bills, right? But how is it impacting lives? How is your thing, your coaching, changing the lives of your clients?
Yeah, well, so I love to look at it from the standpoint of like that ripple in a pond, right? So I can be the rock that goes in. That first ripple is the clients, right? Like if you hire a lawyer in your biggest time of need, you got arrested, you got into a car accident, you're going through a messy divorce, and your lawyer is burned out and doesn't know how to run a business and is having money problems, like you're not going to get the best service. So I think that I can get my clients to the position where they are running better businesses and living better lives, which then helps them help their employees do the same, which then helps them do the clients the same. And so you end up with these, 3 or 4 layers of benefit, because like nobody wants to hire a lawyer, but when you do, you want to hire a great lawyer, right? You don't want them worried about paying their own bills while they're worried about you making it through the worst part of your life.
Yeah, especially when it's criminal law,
Yeah.
Yeah, so just take us through it. How does it? You're in a position right now, as I said this before. You're in a position right now where you're helping people, a lot of executives. What does that do for you as a person? How does that make you feel?
Oh man, I mean, look, there is no truly altruistic goal, and my clients pay me a good amount of money to get the coaching. But like,
Mhm.
by the same token, I learn a ton. It is amazing to me
Mm.
how like the more I invest in coaching other people and asking good questions and hearing their answers, I learn stuff about myself, about my own practice to bring on to the next client. Like,
Mm.
it is a wild opportunity when you are truly that kind of lifelong learner to get a ton out of it, as well as the financial stuff, as well as running a better business, but like to truly learn from some amazing people.
Yeah, man, and lawyers are definitely amazing people, and I say that because I watch a lot of law shows, just to put that out. But I generally feel like lawyers have a lot of insight on people's lives. They deal with a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. They connect with a lot of people on a deeper level, where they even have the thing where it's you can't disclose. I don't know the technical terms, but what I'm saying is lawyers deal with people, and for you to be the person that the lawyers deal with, like they connect with you, I think that will really give you a really wide scope of mind.
Well, look, at the best, the most nice thing I can say about my fellow lawyers, right? So we're there in a case. Let's say it's some crazy, medical malpractice situation. We are taking what all
Mhm.
these medical experts think and know and have applied to this case, and then turning that into a story to tell a bunch of jurors that don't want to fucking be there, that want to be at their normal job or staying at home, about how this is important and what to remember and why to follow these things. And so, like, there's this really cool teaching mentality inherent in the practice of law, as long as you're not an egotistical asshole about it as the lawyer, that it just becomes an amazing opportunity to get information out there in a way that helps people.
Man, yeah, man. I can really understand. Coaching it's a lifelong thing, as you said. It's really something that once you get into it, you don't ever want to stop, because it changes your life every single day.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go right into business. How's business doing on your side? Um, I have your form, but I didn't really get the details from your assistant. So how is business doing really? How are you getting your clients? Is it like Instagram outreach? Is it referrals? I think referrals would be really big, just off the top of my head. Do you do ads? How do you get your clients?
Yeah. So the easiest way for me to get clients is people that knew me before I was a coach, before I had the marketing company. Like, I have been active in the nationwide legal industry for over a decade now. So I've had a lot of people that have just like followed me as I've gone through those things. And then ultimately, what you said about referrals is so true. Cause like, as lawyers, we are taught to imagine worst case scenario. And so it's so much better for me to have like, oh, hey, you worked with my office mate so and so, they're having a blast. Like,
Mm,
I want to try this out. Or, oh, hey, you worked for my mentor, and now that they
mm,
got to where I want to be, like, can you help me get to where they are? I don't know. Whatever's grammatically correct in that situation. So
yeah.
referrals become huge. And then obviously, like, social media, like, I can have a brand from coast to coast. I don't have any international clients currently. So,
Mm.
but I've got clients from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean because of social media. It'd be really hard to maintain personal relationships with people so far away. So it becomes a really cool system that I've built.
Mm.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're learning so much practical wisdom, because that's what I really wanted from this podcast. Now, I just want to quickly say, if you're looking for a team that can actually help you explode and go viral with your personal brand with proven methodologies, I say this because I've been doing this for the past 5 years. We've got a team of 30 people who are ready to go ahead and explode your brand so you can get clients begging to work with you. Have a chat with one of our advisors. You can book in a chat using one of the links around this video, because that chat might just change your life.
Would you say, like, tapping into you said you didn't have clients, from far, what was the word you used? Is it overseas, you said?
Yeah. So currently I don't have any international clients. So I was going to say, like, I'm not
International, yeah.
worldwide. I'm coast to coast. I've got from
Yeah.
San
So the
Diego to
question
New York.
yeah. So the question I was going to ask is, like, do you think that is a ripe area that you could tap into in 2025, international clients? You think it's something that you could do? Do you think it's something that social media can help with?
Maybe. I mean, so like the issue for me is like I'm $2,000 a month for clients on the coaching. And so then like for Canadian clients, that ends up being 2,600, 2,800 a month. And so like it always ends up being a situation where the power of the US dollar makes it less worthwhile for them. But I don't see why not for the right person.
Yeah, it's all about helping the people at the end of the day, right? If they need it, you're there for them.
Yes, or yes, but I don't know. But like here's my thing. I don't want somebody who only has like a $2,500 discretionary budget, right? Like they're going to give 2,000 to me. Now they've only got another $500 to work with on anything we talk about. Like I want a firm that is going to be able to leverage my knowledge with them to get these things lined up. And then if that's like, hey, you need to hire an executive assistant, great. Now I don't want them to have to then build the money to go hire the executive assistant to free up, 20, 25 hours a week. And then, okay, now you have to hire a lawyer. Now you have to hire a paralegal. Like, now we're building this actual company around you. I want them to be able to do that on, not necessarily day one, but, day 30, day 60. And so like that price point, I'm looking for them to have a budget that we can then tap into to really grow their firm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's really, it's something to, how do I say? It's something I can appreciate you for, considering your clients. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and so that's the thing I love about social media. I think everybody needs to have 3 price points. You got to have free, cheap, and right. And so to me, like social media is free. You can get enough of my insight for free. Obviously, like the podcast you guys have, you can get enough information out there at scale to help people that don't have the money. And then you can have a group program or a community or a paid Facebook group, something like that. And then people can build to that one-on-one coaching as, they can grow by following you across time.
That's definitely true. I personally believe that you can get anything you want to get on YouTube, social media. If you're paying for a course, you're paying for speed and you're paying for quality. That's really what it is. If you're paying for a sort of program, you're paying for speed and quality, not for knowledge.
And sometimes the connections to other people, like the concept of who's going to spend $25,000 a year to be in the inner circle group. Like you're going to connect with other people that can afford to spend $25,000 to be in the inner circle. Like there's a community aspect that I think a lot of programs don't tap into. When you have a bunch of like-minded people in similar situations together, like use the horizontal connection too.
Yeah, people, and that works a lot, even in different, it's not just, it's not necessarily like corporate, communities, different communities, whether it's people trying to make more money, whether it's people trying to get in shape, it always, does the extra bit. It actually gives the extra push, if I may say.
Yeah. It's like having an accountability buddy times 100, time, however many people are in the group.
Yeah, exactly. So do you ever have like the problem of too many clients, because you seem like your business seems like the sort of thing that is pretty niche and you're like one of one. So do you ever have the good problem of having many clients, like many clients that you can't even take them on?
I have not had that problem. I have increased rates as we've gotten closer and closer to that problem, and then tried to push people down to like a group program or push them down to a course, or I've got a bunch of like digital products that I'll send to people as, if they can't afford the new rate or as I'm full.
Right. So you're saying that what I'm reading is you've got a good amount of lead flow, but you only want to work with people you can help. You want to work with an amount of people that you can deliver. You don't want to just take the money and just, for the sake of taking it. Is that what I'm getting?
Right. Yeah. Especially in the one-on-one standpoint. Like, there's a situation like you've got on this podcast, right? Like we could send this podcast to people and help them get from a 0 to a 6. And then, they could buy a course to get from a 6 to an 8. And then like when you're at an 8 out of 10 on some of these things, like that's where it really becomes helpful for you to bring on somebody one-on-one to have that focus on you, not just watching the video on YouTube like you talked about, but like let's apply, let's go through a core values exercise for you, for your firm. Like, let me help you give my insight in your situation. This is the framework, but we'll go deeper one-on-one. And there's only like you have to be at a certain point for that to be valuable. And so like I want to help people get to that point at scale and then jump in hands-on with them to go above that point.
That makes a lot of sense. You're really an expert on this. Let's transition into something different, like something.
Sure.
Let's see. What did you learn? This is the question right here. What did you learn in 2024 that you are planning to change in 2025, and how are you planning to change it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess I'm going to answer this question, but in a way that is not necessarily a direct answer. Like AI, if you are behind the
Hmm.
times on AI, you're already
Hmm.
out because there's so many, like Mark Zuckerberg said he thinks Facebook's going to get rid of all of their mid-level programmers and below because AI is just going to do it. So now you got these people making $250 a
Yeah,
year that like a computer is going to do their job. So I would tell you I did a lot of that in
way less.
2024, but there's a lot more to be done in 2025 as they continue to
Hmm.
scale these things up. I mean, ChatGPT 3 was passing the bar exam. ChatGPT 4 is in the 99th percentile. ChatGPT, whatever, 4.0 or 5 or whatever comes next, will
4.0, yeah.
be, yeah. I mean, so it's crazy to see where this progress is. So I am constantly trying to tap into AI from the standpoint of using it myself, from the standpoint of learning what's coming down from the pipeline, and also from the standpoint of
Hmm.
helping coach my clients to embrace it for themselves as well.
Yeah, and it makes processes like streamlined. It makes everything easier. Even right here, we have an AI taking notes of the call. So I think that's a great thing.
To be fair, Gemini's notes are not they've rolled it out in the last couple weeks. It's going to get a ton better. They're not my favorite note
Oh,
taking app,
okay,
but it is
okay.
interesting that they just like flip that on overnight and now
Mm,
it's a thing.
yeah, man. We just picked it up, and hopefully it does the job. So is AI the number one thing? What about towards let me see. Any rough experiences with clients, and you've learned something? You've been in the industry for a while, I assume. So like,
Sure.
I don't think maybe you would get something this year that changes it, but let me just hear what you have to say.
In terms of stuff that clients have been through in the last year,
What I'm saying is like, what did you learn from clients that you are maybe it's opened your mind more this 2024, and you're bringing it into
ah,
2025 to help improve your client experience,
I mean, so here's the thing. I always tie
right?
things back to your ideal client. Like, I hate when
Mm,
people are like, oh, I run an estate planning firm. What should I do for marketing? And I'm like, who's your ideal client? Is it the brand new parent who doesn't know they need an estate plan? Is it the 7-year-old who knows they do because they're closer to passing away and it mattering? Like, that's going to drastically change your marketing effort. And so, like, the things that I've learned from clients is like, the more specific ways for us to go into their ideal client. What are some other questions? How deep can we go? Are they on a different platform? Are they of a certain age? Do they live in a certain part of town? Are they members of a certain group? Like, where are we finding these commonalities? And then, because then you can market to that commonality so much better than you could have a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, Facebook will give you ads to people in a zip code who make above a certain rate, who say that they like mentorship
yeah,
or whatever. And
yeah,
in the lookalike audience creation stuff, it's just wild to me. And so like I've had some really good conversations about clients where we tapped into like creating this fake person who is their ideal client and then just speaking to it and then taking that and putting that in a chat GPT and saying, hey, write me a marketing plan that's geared towards getting us in front of Jane Doe. Okay, write me a email sequence that's going to get John Doe to then book a consultation. Like really going deep on all that data. It's been very cool to see how much farther we can go.
yeah. That's one thing that's really, really helped a lot of content creators and coaches and consultants in general, finding a persona, building a persona, because you have to know who you want to speak to. For most people, it's their younger self. Would you say that's you? Would you say your ideal clients is your younger self?
Oh yeah, I have hit that personal brand. I'm talking to people 3 to 5 years behind me. Like that is totally what it is because that's like the situation. The reason that is correct is like if I was talking to people 10 years behind me, they're not at the level for my one-on-one expertise to be helpful for them. That's a follow me on social media, check out the podcast, download a course. If I'm talking to people that are beyond me, like I don't have the same thing to offer them. So that that 3 to 5 year window, that 1 or 2 steps behind you becomes great because you are close enough in time that a lot of what you worked for you will work for them. And they're close enough to you where they have the foundation to build on top of that with what you have to provide.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking we spoke a lot about what we've learned. What we've learned, we spoke about AI, how AI is changing the game, how you've learned to use what you've learned from your clients. I think let's get into how social media is changing the game in terms of like growing, in terms of reach, in terms of audience, in terms of lead flow, right? How is there anything in particular you picked up from, I don't know, you posted a lot in 2024, I'm assuming? You posted a lot. So is there anything you picked up from your, looking back at the data, looking back at your posts and your interactions? Is there anything you picked up and you're going to look to double down on in 2025?
Standing out.
Standing out.
Yeah. I just like, so AI content creation, there's not necessarily bot accounts, which there are bot accounts and they actually Meta made some and removed them, whatever. But like, there's this whole group of people that all sound exactly the freaking same now because they had ChatGPT write all of their scripts for their content. And so like, how do you get beyond that? Either like me, I normally wear Hawaiian shirts. This is my most professional shirt, Mike. You have caught me in my most professional, which has my little pelican with his Rocky bandana on him. So that stands out. I try to do things around like the beach theme and the luau and the podcast is the Laid Back Life podcast, like trying to have that. And there's tons of people that are like, hey, Jordan, you're not professional enough for me. And I'm like, great. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, go find somebody who is, because now like you're going to get the vibe of, let's have fun. Let's hang out on a beach. Let's get a business that allows us to travel. Like, let's do all these cool things. And also turning those online connections into a one-on-one call, into a real conversation in comments or DMs, into something where like you can actually talk to this person instead of just having the bot be like, oh, this is really interesting content. Thanks for sharing it. Oh, congratulations. Like all this bogus stuff that you can train a Claude to do in 5 seconds, like actually be human with each other, with social media being the initial connection point. That's what I'm doubling down on.
Yeah, and when you were speaking about the Hawaiian shirt and everything and the cool beach thing, there was 4 words going through my head. Could you guess what those were?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Lawyer with a life. Come on.
Oh, lawyer with a life. And here's the crazy part. So like I grabbed that on I want to say like January 1st of 2020, maybe 2021, whatever it was.
2020.
And it's really funny because you talk to all these people, right, that are like, oh, I ended up on social media with like FOMO. And I'm like, no, but here's the thing is my social media presence is me having a life. So there are days where I'm like, it'd be really cool to sit on the couch and just watch TV. But instead, I'm going to take my kid to Universal Studios so we can take better pictures. So we can, like, this will be more content. I can get out there. I can, like, I have empowered myself to use my social media persona to have a better life than sometimes I otherwise would, because I'm not sitting on the couch watching the entire last season of What We Do in the Shadows in one day, because that was not Lawyer with a Life. That's Lawyer with a Couch,
That's more. Yeah, man. I'm really enjoying this conversation, man. It's really good to have insight from someone who's been in the industry, knows what they're talking about, and not just that, but really, as I said, our company really does a lot for humanitarian efforts, really giving back to the community. And to hear someone who is really, how do I say, is really bought into the idea of changing lives. You spoke earlier off camera about how you had some experiences with lawyers in your early years. Maybe you want to share that?
Yeah. So the lawyer national average for depression is 5 times the national average, and for suicide it's between 10 and 25 times. I've seen different numbers. Like, this is an industry that is ripe for I want to say disruption, but like I don't mean disruption in the sense of like Uber. I mean like ripe for us saying the way that we've always done it is clearly not working, because we are dying by the droves, and if we're not, we're miserable. So how can we get into a position where we can put ourselves first while not negatively impacting the client? And ultimately, I think you negatively impact the client by never putting yourself first, because then you're burned out, you're tired, you're overworked, you're not bringing your best self to all of the situations. And so like I think by making that change in the industry, like we are working with people in their worst time of need, in their biggest situation, in the worst thing they've ever been through. Like the better that we can show up, the better the job we can do for them, instead of like unfortunately having so many colleagues die by suicide, heart attack, stroke at 40 or 50 in their office. They're not around to help people. They're not around to help others. They're not around to be there for their family. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, it really is. It really is. And that's what I said again, repeating that. It's really good to hear someone who has such a passion for changing lives, And speaking of changing lives, how let's get really deep into the, because we're a social media company, let's get really deep into social media problems. Like, so for the audience, for the sake of the audience, just give them some tips. Let's focus on 2024. What did you ever get into a position where you were low on leads, and how did you get out of that?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm looking for 10 or so clients to be coaching with at any time. So it's really tough to be too low on leads because I don't need that many. But like, I'll tell you, I started up a podcast again last year. So it's a laid back life podcast. We want to talk a little bit more about life while having a business that runs itself, instead of getting these business podcasts left and right. So I'd suggest for people to do the same thing that you guys are doing here. I think if you are looking to create content on social media, an interview style podcast is the best thing that you can do, because Mike and I are meeting here to talk to each other. We're talking for whatever it is, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. Somebody can go back in, they can cut out 60-second clips from this. They can rip the audio and make it into a podcast. We can throw it on a website and have backlinks from it. We can post it on a bunch of different channels. We can cut the sides off and turn it into reels. We can keep the whole full thing and put it on YouTube. I mean, the opportunities are endless. And like, I don't feel obligated to create 60 minutes of content. Mike's asking great questions. Mike doesn't feel obligated to make 60 minutes of content. I hope I'm giving good answers. Like, you bring people together in a way that's so much easier.
Yeah, definitely. It's really, it's the definition of a win-win, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And heck, I think it's a win-win.
A win for us.
Yeah.
Win-win-win, because it's a win for us, it's a win for you, and it's a win for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our audience, the audience's audience. If you get somebody watches the show, ends up being a better coach from it, they help more people, those people help more people. I mean, like, if all of us were committed to make the world a better place, imagine what we could do.
Imagine what we could do. Yeah, man. Making the world a better place, changing lives, that's like, it's we're speaking with another guy, and he said something about coaching is something that in the beginning we spoke about a ripple effect, but this ripple effect is different. This ripple effect is, as a coach, you're on a program. Let's say you have 10 people on a program. You change those 10 people's lives. Those 10 people then go on to change more people's lives, and more people's lives, and more people's lives, their families' lives. They become better people. For example, on your coaching program, they become better people to their families. And it's just a ripple effect of good,
And their employees. I mean, dude, it's wild to me. We get caught up on this situation, like, I will be happy when, and then all the science behind it comes to find out it's all bullshit. It's, you become happy and then these nice things happen to you. So like, if you are the ones screaming at your employees because you're making no money, like you are going through it, they're messing things up. Like, you need to make yourself happy to then be able to fix these problems with the right mindset, to then have employees who are engaged, to then, do the right work for clients. It's, you sometimes walk into those restaurants and you get that feeling that none of the staff wants to be there. Whereas you get that other place where you feel like they are serving you as if it's their home. Like, I think that's the easiest way for us to see it in action. Think about that great restaurant where you always feel welcome when you show up. I guarantee you they've got a good manager. They've got a good owner. They've got a good culture. Like, you can't fake that stuff over an hour or 2-hour meal.
Definitely. It's, as you said, the word culture really, really, really resonates with us, especially here over at Simplex. A culture is just giving back. As I said, our owner is a former monk. It's just giving back,
Well, So
So
the
that
way that I
was
look at culture, because I think this is
mm,
relevant to your thing. So we always talk about brand,
okay.
and to me, brand is our external culture, and our culture is our internal brand.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, well, and I think the more that those things are aligned, the better. You know, like, it amazes me these law firms that want to be positioned as the go-to in town and then spend no money on staff. And I'm like, you can't fight those things. Like, you want to be the go-to, the best firm, you got to have the best staff. You got to train them the best. You have to make this a consistent thing. And so I always look at like culture and brand as two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So that was us speaking about leads, and we went all the way to culture. I think there was a transition there. So apart from leads, for the audience, again, for the sake of the audience, what did you do in 2024 in terms of creating content? How was creating content? Was it a struggle? Do you ever like, how do you do with editing your videos and scripting? How do you keep up with that? So for the audience to benefit.
Sure. So listen, to the extent that you want to be a content creator, you need to be a content consumer of the right content. So for last year,
Mm,
I went through 169 books, some of them read, some of them on audio, some of them on both. I never have a problem with content. I do not have a problem because I
mm,
ingest so much content. And at the same time, like, I'm reading business development books, I'm reading coaching books, I'm reading parenting books. Like, I am using this to be a better coach and then sharing what I'm learning as content and then
mm.
consuming more content. And then, I mean, I've got a team that does my video editing. I don't know how to edit anything. Thank you, Ralph. You're the man. Ralph's the real MVP. He puts it all, makes it look nice, puts the thumbnails, all that stuff from it. But if you want to create good content, you have to be learning. You have to be ingesting good content and then putting your spin on it. So I always do I am not a hustle porn person. I'm not an 18-hour work day like that. I think that's bogus. I've seen too many people just burn out. I am a come up with the actual life that you want to live and then make the decisions to get there. Those are going to be based upon how much money you need to make, how much work you want to be doing, and what work you want to do in that time frame. So that's how I use those three questions to my clients to center all of our decisions around getting them to that point.
Yeah, man. You kind of sort of answered my next question there, but I'm gonna say it
Okay,
again so you can just reemphasize.
sure.
Now, you said the content is not the problem because you are a content well. If you're gonna take that compliment, you're a content well, right?
Thanks, man.
Your content
Yeah.
sponge. I think sponge is better because you said you consume a lot and you hold a lot. So content is one thing. What do you do about production? Production is I think is the harder part.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Table Group, Patrick Lencioni and them?
No, not really. Can you
Okay.
just break it down for the audience?
Yeah, I'll go into it. So there's this thing called the Working Genius Report. It is a report that you can take. There are 6 acronyms. It spells out widget, WIDGET. It is wonder, identify, discern, galvanize, enablement, and tenacity. And so basically, a normal person gets energy from 2 of those 6 things, loses energy from 2 of those 6 things, and then is okay with the other 2. I broke the system. I am a discern, galvanize, tenacity person, and I hate wonder, identity, and enablement. And I'll explain what they are in a second. So wonder
Yeah.
is you wonder about the problems in society. Identify is you identify potential solutions. Discernment is you discern if they're good or not. Galvanize is you get people centered around the idea together to do it. Enablement is the little bit of the inner workings of getting it done. And then tenacity is finishing it, tenacity to get the project done. So for me, I'm
Yeah.
not a WI. So I need to get content from other places. I am a DG, so I can discern what makes sense for me or discern how I want to take it and then galvanize a team around it. I hate the BS admin of getting it done, and then I want to come in at the end and make sure it's finished. So from a content creation standpoint, if you're a really good WI, you probably need somebody else to force you to make the content and then do the middle section and then get it finalized. For me, I'm good at that part, so I need to bring in the information on the front end, and then I need to have a team on the back end And if you're an enablement tenacity person, you're probably the one who's editing your own videos. You may have to like force yourself to sit down and record them to put yourself in that thing. So I think it's $25 to take this personality test yourself, do it, and then see where you lie on basically those 3 sections, because that will help you figure out how to actually produce the content.
That's a really, really great detailed response. And from what I got, you are the type of guy. Let me just give you like my own bit of widget analysis, but without the letters, right? You are the type of guy who just wants to sit in front of a camera, yap, just give out all the knowledge, right? You do that, you turn the camera off, you go to sleep, and you just wake up with your team producing the rest of the content, high quality content, and all you have to worry about is staring on the camera.
Yes, totally.
And I just want to say for the audience, this is like, it's not a cheap plug because this is our channel, but this is how we've been able to grow. This is how we've been able to grow creators like Jordan. We've been able to grow creators like Jordan who want to focus on their business, who don't have time to get into the editing and the production and all that, and they want to go viral. They want to go viral, so they have the time and they have the knowledge to just sit in front of a camera and give us what we need. They do this like once a week, twice a month, something like that. And we just pump out the content, and our goal is to make them go viral. This is exactly what we do. So you said the letters are D, G, and T, right?
So yeah, it's widget. So I'm a DGT, and I hate WIE.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
And let me go farther to plug what you said. Like, dear creators watching this, you should not be editing your own videos. You should not be doing there is no set of circumstances that you cannot find somebody who can do it better and cheaper and faster, so that you have more time to do the actual coaching, to make the actual content, to engage with people on social one-on-one. Like, those are the parts where you need yourself. The editing, what you've already said, can be done by Mike and his team so much faster, cheaper, better, higher quality than you're going to do it yourself. Spend the time elsewhere. Please don't be editing your own videos.
Exactly. So I think most creators, I wouldn't say creators, most coaches and consultants will fall into this. If they take that test, will fall into DG and T, just like you, because they are coaches and consultants. I like to think of them as wells of knowledge, right? They're always trying to help. They always have ideas. So you sit in front of a camera for 2 hours, right? We have our team who pump out the content, and you just lay back, and so as you said, and your type of content, what type of content do you produce? Do you prioritize long form, short form, and which one do you think gave you the best results in 2024, and are you going to double down in 2025?
Okay, so I'm gonna lawyer answer your question. Everybody listening to this, you need to be prioritizing long form content. You need to be. I don't care if you never use it. The long form content will get you the 60-second clip, will get you the 45-second clip, will get you the short form stuff. If you're only doing short form, it's so much harder to stitch 20 different reels back together into some long form content. So that's why I do webinars, record the webinar, do a 45-minute presentation, cut up the best 30 to 60-second clips. Do interviews, talk for 60 minutes, cut up the best 30-second clips. If you're sitting there trying to force yourself to always have the sound bite, you end up sounding like everybody else. The deeper you go, the more you're going to find the unique sentence, the unique turn of phrase, the unique whatever. So even if you don't really want long form content, I am telling you, I am of the belief all of us should be doing long form content, because you'll get short form from it.
Yeah, in one way or the other, whether it's podcasts, webinars, actual, YouTube videos where you sit in front of the camera and just speak on a specific topic, whether it's doing something like this, you're always going to be able to get clips out of it. And, as you said, you can't stitch 20 pieces of short form content into a long form content, into a piece of long form content. But what you can do is take 1 hour podcast and get like 10 clips out of it, right?
Yeah. And so listen, I guess if you find yourself, if for some reason you can't bring yourself to do longer form, then like I did the ABCs of habit formation. So I did 26 videos, one for each letter, and then we put them together. You can do your top 10 tips for your top 10 industry trends in your industry. Like you can come up with some of these ways where they breed themselves as shorter content, but then putting them together. But I just think that like we don't all want to sound like the same robot. And in 30 seconds, we all sound like the same robot. In an hour, we find our humanity a lot better.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I agree with you. Yeah, so we're running out of time here. So let's just wrap up with a couple of points. It's been an amazing discussion. It's been good to speak to, as I said, I'm saying this again because it really means a lot to me, and not just me, but to us at Simplex. It means a lot to speak to people who really care about people and the community in general. So what is something, I know, as I said, you're very niche as well. So I'm not going to say what is something you can tell to someone who is doing exactly what you're doing, but someone who is getting into coaching, what is one thing you would want them to hear right now? Other than don't give up. What is one thing that you feel like they really need to hear? Or yeah.
So I'm a nerd. So I'm going to say find your superpower. I don't care find your uniqueness, find your circle of excellence, whatever the hell everybody else calls it. Find your superpower. We all have it. Like I got a massage earlier today from a new masseuse. She and I had the most amazing conversation about like organic food and GMOs and all this stuff. I was blown away by what this lady knew while she was giving me a great massage. Like all of us have these things that we are so knowledgeable about. So find your superpower. Like that's what's going to make you stand out. That's what's going to let you find people to hire you. That's what's going to let you do a good job with this by your unique talents and abilities. Don't try to be the same as everybody else.
That's really good. So would you say your superpower is just being able to be, a chill guy?
Thank you. So genuinely, I think mine is I ask really good questions, which every good lawyer should, but for some reason we don't. And then I am smart enough to simplify things. So between like the good questions and the simplifying, that allows my clients to figure out the easiest way to where they want to get, and also the way to convey it to the rest of their team in a way where it is simple and followable and systematized, whatever it ends up becoming.
Yeah, man, definitely. So I think I'll end with this. This is one we ask a lot. What is one thing that you really wish I asked you today?
Man, I always hate that question because it's a great question. Look, Mike, clearly you've done this a ton. You ask great questions. This was a much different interview than I have other times, and I say that in a good way. Like we got into some things that like don't come up in these normal, much more routine things. So what else I wish you asked? I don't know. I mean, I guess like how people can follow me, Lawyer with a Life on Instagram. I've also got a book called Love Your Law Firm on Amazon.
That was going to be the last thing.
Oh, okay. Well, then you made that question hard because you asked good questions before it, Mike. So there's nothing. Okay, there's no low-hanging fruits in there.
Let me just give you one to just end on a little casual note.
Sure.
What is a law TV show or a legal movie that you think the audience should watch?
Oh, okay. All right, great. So there is this show called The Grinder. No relation to the app. Yeah, The Grinder. It was Rob Lowe and either Fred or Ben Savage. They played brothers. The Savage brother ran the family's actual law firm. Rob Lowe went off to Hollywood and became a TV lawyer on this show called The Grinder. And then like in the off season, he comes home. And so you really get the like, this is what TV thinks law is versus this is what it really is from the other brother. It was so funny to me. I don't know if anybody else thought it was funny, but I loved it. So I think more people should check out The Grinder. It lasted 1 year. It was canceled very quickly. It's hysterical if you want to learn what law is really like versus what it sounds like it's like on TV.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely check it out. I can find it on Netflix, right?
I'm sure it's got to be on somewhere, right? Every show still exists on some streaming service.
No problem. So people just check out The Grinder, recommended by the man himself, the Lawyer with a Life. And we'll sort of end on this, and I'm gonna ask you to give it to us again. Where can people find you and learn more about your work?
Sure. So I am Lawyer with a Life on Instagram and TikTok, if TikTok is still a thing. Jordan Ostroff everywhere else. There's only two of us. I'm the one with the beard. And then also I've got a book, Love Your Law Firm, on Amazon if you want to hear my thoughts in, 200-page written form instead of in 30 to 60-second video clips.
All right, man. All right, Jordan. That's been us and that's been you. Thank you for coming on to this podcast, and hope you have a great day, man.
Will do. Thank you for having me. And thanks to everybody who spent the time to listen.
I really hope you enjoyed this podcast. I want you to go away and execute everything there is that you've learned. Now, one thing I will say is if you're in a position where you're ready to actually take things to another level, you want structured, clear guidance, you want a team that can actually help accelerate you, book in a chat with our advisors. Why? We can blow up your personal brand to attract clients begging to work with you. All you got to do is book in a chat with our advisors and we can help make it happen. Sound fair enough?